All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're so glad you are here joining us on National AI Literacy Day. So, welcome. And if you are here today on National AI Literacy Day, welcome. If you are watching us at a later date, welcome from the past. And we are going to say that you can still celebrate AI literacy any day, even if it's not the official day. So thank you again for being here. You can feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you're here live, whether that is on Facebook or in Zoom here. If you're watching on YouTube later, you can add a comment and introduce yourself as well. And we're talking about AI literacy today, so we'd love to hear from you. What do you think AI literacy means? So if you'd like to join us with that question, we'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, and welcome. I see 5 people joining us on Facebook already, so welcome to those of you that are there. Perfect. All right, so we have here to learn more about AI literacy. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Morgan. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome, everyone else. Fantastic. All right. So this is part of our Learning About AI, Learning with AI, Learning About AI webinar series that CDE has for all of you. And our website here shows the information and all of our AI guidance. We were the second state agency to come out with AI guidance, and I will be giving you updates on what's coming next at the state level soon. But glad that you are all here and that we can provide these resources to you. Wanted to also let you know that on this website, there are links to all of the previous webinars, and they are titled by topic. So there's all sorts of great webinars that you can watch after the fact. So we also have a resource kit linked on the AI page. So that will be a downloadable resource kit that you can go ahead and download as well. If you are listening in your car or you don't have that link handy, don't worry, all registrants will get an email with the presentation and resources as well. All right. So I love to introduce myself. My name is Kat Goyette. I am the Computer Science Coordinator and the Head of AI Initiatives here at California Department of Ed. And I organize and facilitate these with my colleague, Dr. Christina Mattis, who I spoke to just a bit earlier today. And she is our Educational Technology and Digital Equity Broadband Coordinator. And we are here from the Information Technology Branch to talk all about AI with you. So the question for today, we always come up with a question for each webinar. And today's question is, what does AI look like in the classroom and why is it important? So we're talking about what AI looks like in the classroom, but specifically in celebration of National AI Literacy Day, we want to talk about what do we actually mean to be literate in AI for our students? What does that look like for our students in the classroom? And that's important because you'll see on the left here that there was a bill passed, AB 2876. I, I believe that's the right number. That was just passed, calling for our future curriculum frameworks to consider adding AI literacy into those frameworks. So this is an integrated approach. This is something where we are teaching our students to be AI literate as we are engaging them in our content curriculum. And what does AI literacy mean? There was actually a great session yesterday that you can check out that delved into AI literacy a little bit. We're going to hear even more today from our amazing speakers. But 4 of the fundamental skills for educators and students that our guidance talks about really have a lot to do with AI literacy. So one is safe use. Another is understanding the pros and cons of AI, the social impacts, making sure we consider that, and then demystifying it and building an understanding of how AI works. More we understand how AI works, the better we can be responsible citizens in this AI era. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, Mr. Rudy Escobar, who has done some great work both at the regional, state, and national level in regards to AI and what it looks like in the classroom. And so, Rudy, without further ado, I will allow you to tell us who you are, and then give us some information about what AI can look like in the classroom.
Thank you, Kat, and good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who are also watching us on Facebook, thank you for being here. And again, my name is Rudy Escobar, and I'm a STEM and Computer Science Coordinator for the Stanislaus County Office of Ed. And you have all my different social media links there if you want to follow me or anything like that. And it's really more about our understanding. I cannot say we're experts in AI because I think we're all learning every single day as AI is changing. But I want to talk to you today about what CS is in the age of AI education and why is it so important to do that. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So I do have some slides that I borrowed from that I want to show you here, and I want to start with from Teach AI. If you haven't looked at that report in Teach AI, it's very nice to look at how to do a strategic plan for teaching AI. But was something that the reason why I put this slide here is because I wanted us to look at why CS is so important in the age of AI. CS is not going to be just mandatory; it's really going to be foundational. And as you can see here in this tree, I like this image all the time because CS central point is the trunk of the tree. AI is part of it, and I know that AI is being used in different subjects in different places, but CS is central part of it, and it's the foundation. And kids need to have the computational skills necessary for that. So that takes us to the next slide because when we talk about AI literacy, there's so many definitions about AI literacy going around. But really, when we think about AI literacy, we have to understand how AI works, using AI responsibly, recognizing its social and ethical impacts, and understanding the AI's potential benefits and risks as you can mitigate to mitigate the risks. So as you heard from Kat, she has these pieces where the 4 pieces of AI as she began the webinar today. So when we put all those pieces together, AI literacy is really when we have to look at from how to use AI, which is the usage of tools, how you're using those tools. But most important, what I want to focus on today is really how AI works. So it's very important to understand how AI works before we start to look into other things. Okay, so as we move into the next slide, I want us to consider this, and this is these slides are actually borrowed from our friend Lauren from Santa Barbara, and we were going to look at how does the artificial intelligence connect to the computer science core concept. So there are the 5 concepts of computer science that you can see here. So we have computing systems, network and internet, data and analysis, algorithms and programming, and impacts of computing. All of them have some one way or another to do with AI. And algorithms and programming, obviously, that's one of the central parts of it, networking as well. But today I'm going to focus a little bit more on computing systems and impacts of computing. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that connects. Now, if you're not familiar with it, we go to the next slide. We have what is the AI K-12 framework or the guidelines. And these are actually national. So there's 5 of them, and they're actually being also revised this year. But as you can see here, these are the 5 parts of the framework where you have perception, you have representation and reasoning, learning, natural interaction, and societal impact. And yes, thank you, Kat. They actually are mentioned in the CDE AI guidance as well. And I think Teach AI is also mentioned in the AI guidance as well. So both of them are there. So as you can see here, some of the things that we need to look for is in perception as to what extent does the AI tool able to perceive what you were trying to create. In representation is were you able to generate what you wanted with this AI tool. In learning is how could you use this AI tool to support your learning or learning with others. In natural interaction, did your the interaction with the AI feel natural and real? And we're going to add more things to it as well because as generative AI is coming into place, this is where we start to see that a lot. And as well as societal impact. In societal impact, we have to ask questions like, given your interaction with this a form of AI, similar applications you could envision for it in the workplace or in its daily life. Okay, So those are very important questions that we need to think about as we move forward. So now let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So how does that connect with AI as well, and how do the computer science connect? The computer science concepts connect. So we click on one more time. Computer science is the foundation upon that artificial intelligence is built on. So as you heard me mention a little bit ago, it's fundamental, it's foundation. We cannot step away from teaching computer science or computational thinking with through computer science for AI. And if we click one more time, so when we think about how to connect the AI, those AI systems and understanding AI in the classroom, we have to make sure that we understand how AI works through these five parts of the AI guide and how we can connect them to each one of our standards or the concepts themselves. So how does that connect? So I'm going to actually give you a little example. We're going to test some things out. So let's go ahead and click on the next slide. We need to really think about why is computer science important in AI literacy? How do we understand? So you notice that I showed you the five concepts, and we're going to look at computer systems today, and we're also going to look at a little bit of societal impacts as well. So we're going to do an activity, and there's a very simple activity, and for that, I'm going to need participants to interact with me, or at least somebody that's there to interact with me. Uh, so we're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to ask the question: AI or not AI activity. Okay, so this is really about AI. Is it AI or is it not AI? And what we're going to be looking at here is computing systems and impacts of computing. How does that work in the classroom? And this is an activity that you can do in your classroom anytime, just to really touch the basis of the computing systems in the standards, as well as the impacts of computing. So if we go to the first slide, I'm going to ask this question. I have a poem here, and the question is it AI or not AI? So here we have, in shadows cast by neon glow, ideas bloom, then swiftly go. Circuits hum a lullaby beneath a cloud-fringed pixel sky. So if you want to interact in the chat, or you want to, is it AI or not AI? So I'm starting to see some responses. Okay, so I see AI. I see AI. AI. Codfish is weird. Okay. Uh-huh. So Kat says I think AI is generated because it talks about circuits. Okay, AI, good, good. Okay, thank you for participating on that one. So yes, you are correct. This is AI. And it's important for us to look at how this computer system works, because easily students can be using things like this and not really analyzing and seeing how this computer system works. So, for example, when we put something in ChatGPT, we can just copy paste. But if you don't understand how it works, for example, I saw the comment about codfish is weird. If we really don't understand how it works, it's very, very hard for a student to understand what they should just copy paste, right? So it's very important for us to do that. So now let's go to the next one. So here's a news article excerpt. And this is again the question: is this AI or not AI? So, in a surprising twist, local wildlife officials reported that a herd of deer in Yosemite National Park was learned to avoid high traffic areas by watching patterns of human movement and adjusting their own routes accordingly. The behavior documented over 2 years is being described as a form of urban adaptation. Is this AI or not AI? So I see some AI, not AI. I did say not AI, not but could be. Okay, not. Okay, not. Okay. Anybody want to put it on there? Why do you think it's not AI? Or why it's AI? Sounds more natural. I see from Cat. Simple sentence structure. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the answer for this one is really it is not AI. Sorry, it's not AI. I see the surprising twist makes it more likely to be AI, not a normal writing phrase. Oh, interesting. Thank you. So yes, this is actually human. Is not AI. Is this actually human? It was paraphrased a little bit, but it's really not AI. So thank you for sharing on that one. Now let's look at the next one. This is an image, so we're going to be looking at images. Is this AI or not AI? So I see AI, AI. Okay. Oh, everybody's saying AI. Anybody would like to actually share why do you think it's AI? Rod Fit, dot, yes. AI because the lines are too clean between person and background. His face is too smooth. Pope should not be in a puffer. Yes. This went viral as a AI. The Pope is in a rapper. Okay, good. Okay, thank you for sharing. Yes, definitely, this is an AI. In the reason why I'm showing you these things is because part of our standards in understanding computational systems and also understanding the societal impacts of AI, impacts of computing, is to really identify the difference between the two and understanding how that works. It's not just about using that tool, but really understanding, and that's why this is a good activity that you can run. You can actually use with your students as well. Now let's go to the next one. I think this is my last one. Okay. So here's a social media post, and is this AI or not AI? Just wrapped up my first marathon, 26.2 miles of pain, sweat and tears, but it was worth every step. Grateful for every cheer and high five along the way. Is this AI or not AI? So I'm seeing not AI, not AI, some AI. Okay. I think AI because a person wouldn't have a spelled out a five out five. People are lazy. Okay. Okay, so anybody want to share why AI or not AI? I see sounds very natural, could be AI though. Okay. Okay, so most people don't use hyphen. Okay, thank you. And that's a very good one. I always call that out real quick. Usually the hyphen is not, the hyphenation is usually not used with people. Very interesting. Yes. So this is actually a human written one. It's actually an Instagram post. Okay. So this is actually one of them. So the reason why I wanted us to look at this activity and work on this activity, interact, and thank you for participating, by the way. Oh, 26.2 miles was giveaway. Good. Thank you. So the reason why I wanted to show you this activity and to be able to do this with, you can do this with your students, is because this is a simple way to look at computing systems, how conversations about how computing systems work. And it's also about the impacts of computing. As you can see, we can make AI things that look very real on the first look, but also it asks us, it makes us ask questions about is it real or not real. So that's a very good conversation. So if we go to the next slide, there's some questions I want you to grasp with. And when I talk about AI, I'm talking about generative AI because there's multiple ways, multiple uses of AI. So how do you think computer systems or hardware, computer systems, which is hardware, software, or internet, enable generative AI? Why is it important to understand how these systems work? And how can generative AI impact things like truth, equity, and access? And what should students know to be prepared for this future as you see these activities? So I leave it for a little bit for you to think about it. And I'm going to ask you to share in the chat any of those questions that call out your name. Just go ahead and put it in the chat. Put the answer in the chat. What do you think is important? And how can this make an impact through equity and access? And as well as how can we prepare our students for the future of this? So I see literacy in AI is important for the AI to generate accurate and concise outputs. Thank you. Understanding how these systems work help better prepare prepare for the work environment they will enter regardless of the profession. Thank you. When students understand AI is not magic, they are perhaps most likely to seek and critique it. That's great as well. Yes. Knowing about AI gives them a better chance of determining whether something is true or not. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's that's exactly what I wanted to bring up to you. As we connect to the standards, to computer science standards, and how we use them in the classroom, even though we might not be teaching computer science, we might be teaching another subject, the importance is for them to understand those computing systems, which indirectly you are teaching computer science. And then the impacts of computing as well is something important that can be a conversation throughout any subject, because it's very important how these systems are actually working from now on. With that, I want to go to the next slide, and I want to thank you for today. I have that link there, the bit.ly. On that one, I've been collecting resources for a while for how to teach with AI. There's also some tools there that you can use just to use it with AI, but the majority are for teachers. So if you can please put that link in the chat, Kat. I don't know if you can put it. If not, I'll put it in there. Um,
Yeah, if you could, since I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on there. I'm gonna put that link in the chat so that way everybody has it. It's a Wakelet, so everybody has the resources there. So you can actually look at around. There's so many tools on there, so you can just take your time to use it as you wish. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Rudy. And I have heard people say how much they like your Wakelet. So I definitely encourage you to check that out, everyone. If you are in the car or something like that, don't worry. All registrants will get a copy of these slides, which does have the link to the Wakelet. So you're getting some thank yous in the chat, Rudy. If anyone has any questions, I'm monitoring the chat here. If there are any questions, I wanted to say, Rudy, at first I thought, oh, you're talking about computer science, but what about those teachers that don't teach computer science, right? But with AI literacy, I love how the examples you gave, anyone, any content area can use that. So because that was great. So thank you. And the more that we know about a certain content area, the better we can critique AI, because we know if it's true or if doesn't make much sense. So yeah, definitely appreciate that, Rudy. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat at the moment, but Rudy is, oh, here we go. How will AI in the classroom affect academic integrity and critical thinking skills in our students? That's a great question. Rudy, how would you respond to that question?
Great question. I actually was just with the group talking about that before this webinar. And how is that going to affect the integrity? I think that, you know, before AI, before generative AI, there was already cheating, right? There's already cheating has happened over time. It's not changing. The only thing that is changing is that AI is making it maybe even faster or more, a little bit different. So I think that the most important part is going back to the impact of computing and the ethics and the bias behind it. If students understand, and Kat, you mentioned it a little bit ago about being able to critique, the more we teach students of how AI works and what are the implications of AI, which is part of those computer science standards, the more in the AI K-12 guidelines, the more they are going to understand to be more to be more have more academic integrity. Now, we always are going to have the problem with the ones that will do it no matter what, with AI or without AI, they will do it. But the more we educate our students into having that AI understanding, AI literacy understanding of what is really an integrity, the more it's going to work for them. Aside from that, the critical thinking skills, I'll be truly honest, that's always been a battle for me about how much is AI being used. There's some really good AI gurus out there right now working with ideas of critical thinking skills might just increase over time if used correctly. If a student actually learns how to use AI and how it works, their critical thinking skills could increase by the way they work with AI, versus the one that just puts in something into Google, like Google Classroom. Oh, sorry, Google Search, right? So it's happening with adults as well. The more they use it, critically, the better it's going to give. That garbage in, garbage out. It's always a saying, right? So if you have somebody putting garbage into the AI, it's going to give them garbage back. So the idea is, can we actually be critical about what we put into AI is going to increase if we teach them to adapt correctly to it. I also see, I believe that we need to rethink of the inquiry and redefine it, which, yes, Yes, really. What is integrity now? Because it's going to be different, right? So the conversation I had with some teachers today was about copyright issues, right? Writers are going to start thinking about how does copyright, what is copyrighted now, and how do we give acknowledge people to what their work is, and all these things that are going on. I see. I work with West Governors University, and it's really helpful to hear how students will be taught about AI and the use of AI. Exactly. So this is important. So it's very important. I think that that's something that I really want to focus on is that when we talked about AI literacy, about using AI and how AI works, I want us to never forget that how AI works is very, very important before they use the tools, because it's very important for that to happen. I also see what have you found about social emotional development and critical thinking skills in developing minds? I am finding as much as I am training the machine is also training me. Exactly. That's a very good point to see it. And I'm not the specialist in social emotional, but I know that I've seen some work that they're doing with social emotional, and it's tricky, right? I think it's tricky on how these models are working, and I would be cautious about how we're using those models as well into the social emotional piece until we really understand. I always think about AI is like the fire, right? Depends on who has the fire in their hand. They can use it for good or they can use it for bad. So we have to be very careful on how that's happening. We have to learn more about generative AI first to start to release it completely to students without really being cautious about it. And then I see the last thing isn't that there a critical thinking mode with AI systems to reverse where they reverse the roles and give you prompts to help you brainstorming sessions. Yes, actually there is, and actually it's called problem resolution. It's what it's called, right? So it's problem, which is an idea that is coming up that eventually prompt engineering will go away because problem resolution is going to become more important. So that's definitely one. So I hope I answered those questions. I don't want to take too much of the time. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Rudy. Yes, thank you for the questions as well. I will add, I definitely agree with all that was said. And I also will add that there was, if you go to the CDE AI web page that was linked earlier, and you'll get in an email tomorrow, there was actually an entire webinar about AI and the impacts on mental health. So if there was a conversation about social emotional development and such. So definitely something that might be of interest, um, because this is AI is here, and we need to think about how it is impacting our students and ourselves, right, as well. So thank you so much, Rudy. So appreciate you being here. Volunteering your time and your expertise with us. I also want to thank our next presenter. This is Angela Chavez. She is a K-5 educator and a CST Equity Fellow. Actually, Rudy's a CST Equity Fellow as well. So we've got a lot in California, a lot of great talents and equity-focused, equity-minded individuals. So, Angela, I will have you introduce yourself more if you'd like, and let us know. I love how Rudy gave us this kind of big picture of why AI literacy is important, particularly with the how it works. And I'm excited to hear some of the practical, here's in the classroom ideas that you've done as well. So, take it away.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Chavez. As mentioned, I am an elementary school educator, so I'm coming to you from that lens, but with the hope that you can see examples and be inspired to kind of apply it to your discipline and integrate in a way that meets the standards and learning outcomes that you need. I also work at the Computer Science Virtual Academy. It's a K through 12 virtual school. So students learn from home and I teach through Zoom. So again, very excited to be here and share my experiences with AI. So for me, my beginning, going on to the next slide, and my entry into AI was through Quick Draw. it was the pandemic. I was looking for activities. Someone introduced this to me. So without even knowing it, I brought something as simple as quick draw to the classroom. So I wanted to share this because a lot of times we enter into this space as educators thinking that we have to be experts in everything. And sometimes, especially in AI, we're not going to be, because it is transforming, it's evolving. And so the goal is to just get your feet wet. And if you are coming in with a lot of experience, you know that you're always refining and tuning and making things better for your students. So I'm speaking to you from, a classroom teacher to another classroom teacher about things that worked for me and that things that I was able to do that I found pretty exciting. So, in one activity, moving on to the next slide, I'm a really firm believer in integration because our time is so valuable and it is so hard to do another thing, right? It's like, oh my goodness, we have our computer science and now we're integrating the AI. And I also come from science and doing a lot in that space. And I know that the lift there was pretty heavy, and now there's new introductions to things. But whenever we find those connections, I find that to be super valuable. So here's an example of something that I took in the classroom, and I connected it to a standard. So when you get these slides, you're going to have some little standards in the notes that you can take a look at. But as an elementary school teacher, one of the things that students need to do is produce complete sentences, recognizing and correcting inappropriate fragments and runoffs, and also looking at how they can choose words and phrases to convey ideas precisely, which is what I added as a focus question. So for this activity, it comes from Google Experiments, and we'll play and let it tell you a little bit about itself. And then I'll show you how I was able to take something that, again, using a Google Experiment AI activity and making it an ELA activity. So Kat, if you can press play.
All right. And please let me know if you can't hear it. Is there sound for it?
No.
Okay. And Angela, for those that are maybe watching or listening in the car, could you maybe will you describe what was in the video in a moment as well?
Sure. So since the sound's not quite working, and I believe there's this new thing, Kat, that says share sound on the side. I feel like they've made it super complicated.
In Zoom. I could try again if you'd like. We can try.
Yeah, can you start from kind
Yeah.
of wherever you're at, but that share sound button if you
Yeah,
want.
let's try again. I know they changed things. I think this is gonna
Yeah, and
the
now there's the tab. So that's another thing when people are
yeah.
like, we can't see. It's like, oh, it's the tab.
All right, we're gonna try this.
Okay. All right. Well, it's still not picking up sound, so I can walk through and just kind of describe what the process is. So this is rooted in prompting. You're given an image, and on the other side, you're to describe it to see what's going to be generated based on your decision making. So the links will be provided, and you can check this out through Google Experiments. And it's going to kind of rate you, like how close were you to describing that image. So you'll see some examples in this video that they're giving you, and again, you'll be able to take a look at that when you get those links. Looking at, so the classroom part, how does it connect to the classroom? So turning this into an ELA lesson, which is so important, looking at the next slide. When I was working on this activity with my students, it was a little organic because at that time I do something called AI Tuesday. So last year I started it just like, hey, I want to get AI in. I came across Google Experiments, kind of explored it a little bit and thought, well, this would be fun. And again, Tuesday has no bearing on, like, I just chose a day that I had some extra time. So every Tuesday we were doing these activities. So when students were first doing this, I thought, wow, this is a perfect like learning opportunity to be able to expand it into something that kind of probes it a little deeper and in meeting the standards as well. So students, when given the image, looking at, I see an egg in a bowl, and then realizing like that's not really a great match. And then we would talk about like, well, why? What would make this better? How can you be more descriptive? Now, the concise part is that in this program, you only have 120 characters as well. So not only did they have to build these sentences, but they had to make it concise enough to be able to see if the way that they wrote that prompt or that description was able to generate an image that was a pretty close match. At the end of the levels, they actually show you, the students were able to see what their responses were, and it kind of shows them the check as, oh, you got it, or the X's. So we were able to screenshot, and we used it over a period of time as a learning opportunity to say, well, how can we make this better? And the kids, it was engaging. We were getting in the AI. And so, again, meeting multiple kind of learning outcomes through the lens of, ELA and AI. Another ELA lesson through Google experiments was through vocabulary. So in this particular activity, this allows students to kind of use context clues to be able to guess what the word is. So they're started with a couple of letters, and then there's descriptors through pictures and so forth. So if you click on the link I put in the chat box, you can take a moment to kind of explore. And Kat, would you be able to click on that link as
Yeah,
well and just kind of walk them through that
yeah,
example?
sure.
Yeah. And what I found valuable as well with this, the standard that I was hitting, again, I didn't say exactly which grade I teach, but I'm actually a fourth and fifth grade teacher. So I want to put that out there because, again, I'm giving you lessons I'm using in my classroom, but they're easily adaptable to what you need. And if you're teaching ELA, and if not, you can kind of think about how you can use certain platforms that I'm introducing to you to meet your own needs. So in the Google experiments, when you launch it, they're always going to give you some context. So we'll play that.
Can you see it? Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
and it says, can you guess does
The
it say what
hidden
is
word.
the hidden word? So if you click on that link, or I'm
Okay.
sorry, the arrow, yeah, the button.
Okay.
We'll go through a sample of what this looks like. So given the clues within these tiles.
Blue is in the letters. Okay.
And so there's 5 letters and they're giving you a clue. And so you're observing.
So I'm guessing what letter it is?
Yes, well, they're going to tell you the letter. And so you're going to go ahead and I believe if you press the arrow on that, it's going to take you through and it's going to kind of generate. See, look closely at the clue. And that little arrow, does it take you to next there? So you have to guess 4 letters. So I'll walk you through that. Okay, let's go back. And I'm
Oh,
sorry,
it's
let me expand this. I can't see it too well myself. Okay,
okay.
there you go. So you're using your keyboard to play. All right, so click on that part. Can you click on the use your keyboard to play?
Yeah, it's not letting me do anything when I click on it. What would it do?
So what it would do is it would generate. So you're going to generate other clues. So you're going to start using your keyboard to type. So you know what? Why don't you type the letter E? Just press E on your
Okay.
keyboard and let's see if that works. Okay, so that's the letter at the end. So let's just choose another letter. There is a wing there. So let's see if we can guess another letter. I believe that was a wing, looking at the clues.
Right.
And then choose another letter.
Okay.
All right, I'm not sure what letters you're choosing. Okay, it was dove. All right. So you're going to find when your students are going through this, they're going to be like, what? How? But as they go through, they actually are building the vocabulary and they get better and better. So let's try one more.
Okay, so it says you're nailing it or nailing this
Mm.
game. Wow, cool. Okay. Here we go. Oh, maybe it's
Oh, we see something in a pan. So
right.
and I would walk students through this as we're kind of like, what clues do we see? There's a pan. What does that visual tell us? So choose that letter.
Can I click on it or? No, I don't see the keyboard anymore. Oh, there we go.
Mhm.
No, sorry.
Okay.
Let's see. So
And you
let's
know what?
try.
I'm a virtual teacher, so I teaching online, we're always troubleshooting, and it's like, we call it. All right, so we're kind of like seeing the clues, and
Oh,
we
I'm
see
getting
the
it, I think.
other hand.
Muffin.
All right.
Got it.
And that word is muffin. All right. So as we're doing this with students, they're looking again at that context. Well, having that dialogue, what made you think of that UFFIN as the remaining letters, and going back and relying on that? So real quick opportunities that have a lot of bang for the buck because you're meeting other standards as well. So going back to the slides, we're going to move away from, I think the next, oh no, we have one more Google experiment. And just a disclaimer on the experiments, I do a lot of vetting and just looking at them beforehand. There's so much out there. There's some links in there that you're going to be able to watch, but you think about how you're going to connect it to the classroom. And again, I'm a little weary. I have the little, so I'm just kind of like giving them links to just start exploring on their own. I typically don't do that. I give them direct links to what activity I want them to do when I'm working in Google Experiments because there's so much. And even the other day, I was looking at some new things they had, and I'm just blown away by the amount of material and AI and all sorts of other things that are coming through there, through that platform. So in this lesson, I wanted to kind of show opportunities to integrate the AI into your lesson design. So when you're starting off with lessons that you already do, it's something that's already part of your program, how can you refine to or remix to make it where you can incorporate other skill sets? So we have a theater teacher who comes in and he's wonderful. And actually, I should say visual and performing arts because he does all four strands. So one of the activities the kids were learning about was kind of dance and shape within dance and also levels and so forth. So the original task that he had them do after some build up and instruction was creating a movement phrase. So he was doing that through, he said, draw it out, and then you're going to dance it out, right? So in this activity, I just happened as I was getting ready for my AI Tuesday, looking at like just kind of came across this next activity. I'm not sure that I see the slide anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. But I'll continue speaking through it. And then there's a video. Hopefully the sound will play on this one because I think it's more powerful with the sound. But we happened to be doing this, and I thought, oh my gosh, I came across this AI and the arts piece, and I was able to connect it to the lesson, but modifying it so it wasn't paper and pencil and then dancing. We were using a little bit of AI and then dancing in those movements. But I wanted to show you the video clip, and then I'll show you how I was able to remix it to apply to this arts activity.
Which is really a fun way to
And if
navigate
you
through
can
this map
just
using your body.
track,
It gives you an
track a little
atlas or
bit,
a map of all of the moves
the
in
beginning.
the
Oh,
archive.
sorry. I may
Okay,
have been
so
watching it and stopped there. All right, and so this actually uses machine learning to create movement through.
How is it that we could work with machine learning or artificial intelligence to amplify aspects of the process that allows us to do things we could never have done before? It started, first of all, with a trip to the lab in Paris to meet Damien and his team. And it was amazing, that first conversation, because it was really exploratory.
We explore with artists and cultural institutions the intersection of art and technology.
So when we started working with Wayne, we were really interested about movement prediction.
We had to gift the archive, and it was a huge archive, it's thousands of hours of video to be analysed. For that tool to work, you have to have a body, first of all, inspiring it. It was phenomenal we were able to have this performance in LA. What was interesting to me is once we'd gone through this process and we were building these phrases of movement, we were building these packages of choreography, is they inherently look different from things that we've made before. This was a technological marriage, if you like. It was that we were working together to inspire something really new. Ben Collar-Williams is an artist I've worked with several times before, and when I realized that I wanted to find some other translation of the archive in another discipline, I felt Ben would be the ideal collaborator for that.
This project was very fascinating for me because it was a brand new type of collaboration. Having the chance to work with AI to create a brand new piece of abstract video, we made that movement interact with a whole series of different environments.
Now the archive is going to be open to the public, so all of this private stuff that we've done to generate this new piece of choreography is going to be blown open and anybody can access it.
We made an online experiment, which is really a fun way to navigate through this map using your body.
It gives you an atlas or a map of all of the moves in the archive. You get a sense in which there are hundreds of thousands of unique moments of movement. So movements that never used to go next to one another are all of a sudden next to each other, and you click them together and make a little phrase of physical action, and you can play it, and now you have a unique version of a phrase that nobody else has ever made. It speaks to this idea that everybody has the opportunity to see movement uniquely, and everybody can actually make choreography.
So that's exactly what we did. We made choreography using this movement. So going on to the next slide, I'll show you, and I dropped some links in the chat box. Sorry, they're kind of not in order, but revising the task. So the same thing, like creating this movement, choreographing it, they're drawing out. But instead of the drawing, they actually use this platform to create the movement. And then being able to see it play. It looks like that's the video that's not working. All right, perfect. So having the ability for students to see how machine is learning was done in order to create these movements that then went into this platform and program. And when you're able to explore, having the opportunity for students to also see the arts and where on the map, I believe it shows exactly where all these dancers were in that time, and even the years. So it also extends the learning, or it can just be in itself, just that particular activity. The movements, once they have that routine, they can then play it. And the extension to that I would say is not only can students perform that based on the movements and trying out what they see there, but there's also a way in the teachable machine with google.com that also was introduced, I believe, a couple series back, that they could then pose and then also practice that idea of machine learning too. So there's ways to extend these activities. So if we're seeing, again, these opportunities, you may not be that art teacher, but there might be something else that you can easily adapt. And this was a very organic way to do something. Like I didn't have to go searching in that sense of like, oh, I need to connect AI to this lesson. It just kind of presented itself. And I would also say that when we're thinking about integration as well, the importance of like not trying so hard to make things fit for the sake of saying, oh, I wanted to get AI done, so I wanted to fit it here. It's just allow those opportunities of things that you're already doing to be like, oh, hey, there's this lesson here that I found and it might work. So more organic than having to try to force yourself to do something just for the sake of doing it. So moving on to the next piece, I know I've been showing you a lot of Google experiments, and I know that across the state, many of you are coming from different spaces. I don't know the restrictions on things, but I wanted to show you some other activities that you can do outside of experiments. So in this is generative art, and having an opportunity for students to create. If we click on the hyperlink, or if you click on the image, it's going to take us to, I believe, the site, which is Silkweave. Maybe not. Let me go ahead and place that in the chat box as well. Not. And in this space, we do have a lot of talk about our cell and how we're using times for kids to just kind of unwind and connect. So this was a platform that was actually, or a website that was actually introduced to me. And the way that I've used it, if we click the enter, if we click right in the center, you can give kids 10 minutes, set a timer, let them draw, let them create. So on the page, there's different ways that they can create, whether it's symmetrical design, so they're just moving their mouse. I'll play soft music and they'll just create. If we're looking at creating a kind of focus question for that, thinking about that moment, that feeling, that memory, and then being able to talk about how their image reveals something about what they were feeling at the time. If we go into the creative piece, I believe it shows on.
That was
And
fun. By the way, I made that image, everyone, just by like moving the mouse around.
yeah, and I will tell you, this has always been a hit. I was also introduced to this during the pandemic, and this was a favorite activity for my students. They actually kind of explore and create art on their own as well. If we click on, I believe there's a space where you can change the color on the left-hand side. Maybe the
Hmm.
expand, yeah. So yes, so you have, so as students are creating, we can think about connecting the color to their moods. There's also a way to show, there's a slider that kind of determines it says drag right underneath the color. Yeah, so we'll talk about the rotational symmetry if you wanted three, I think it was 3D, and then I want to say at one point maybe four. If you don't want symmetry, just turn it off. So a lot of opportunity for students to um, create, and they're not doing that, they're just moving the mouse, but letting the AI do the creating for them. Often I'll have the students take the screenshots, they can share the link to this activity. And the one thing that I like about this is it doesn't require them to log in. And none of the activities actually, I don't believe they had to log into any of those activities that I shared with you either. So finding those moments again that we can also call out the AI in this as well, the generative art. It's being created for them, but they're still the ones inputting that movement. Moving on to the next piece. Here's another example on the next slide of letting the platforms and all the work, all the other things out there do the work for you. So when you're coming in from kind of an early entry, like I was just, let's do the quick draw, and I did forget to describe it. So if you were kind of listening in that, you know, you're working with the computer to kind of guess based on your drawing, whether or not it's a match, if they can guess it. That was something really easy. Didn't even, again, early entry, didn't even really connect it like, oh, this is AI. But you know, I feel like over the years I've been able to just kind of keep adding on. But there's a lot that's beginning to come out, and having those platforms doing that work for you is a really great piece. Especially we're so busy, lesson planning can always be a beast. And so looking at things that already exist. This site, the Achievery, is actually not only for AI or CS. It's a collection of a lot of different things. So this activity here, I'll give you the link to the lesson plan. It has the lesson plan that comes with it, but this was through girls.co that kind of has this on their site. And also being a Girls Who Code facilitator, I was actually excited to see this because I use a lot of their curriculum already. So again, letting the platforms do the work for me, and to see this call out to AI was a really nice surprise when I saw it in this platform. So in this space, it was looking at and exploring recommendation systems and how they got started. So this actually doesn't require the digital component. So if you don't have the tools, like not every student has a computer, these are things that you can do just with pen and paper. And it's looking at how the breakdown of how AI seeks to mimic human behavior. So they're inputting something that they like, and then what recommendation based on that type. So the activities are very descriptive in how you would build that up. There's a little video that also goes along with it. When you, if you decide that it might be a tool. There's things that have lesson plans that are for different age groups as well. So I know I'm speaking to kind of my K-5 experience, but again, as teachers, we're always crafting and taking things and like, oh, that's cool, I can use that and make it our own, right? So they do have some upper grade examples, 9 through 12 for AI as well. And then students are able to see that. And it kind of, this activity reminded me of just the old school days of even when you'd make choices at the end of a book. It's like, do you want that choice or that choice? And the outcome was different. And so this was kind of a fun activity as well. And again, that one's not open. You would have to sign up for that particular program, but I found that as a valuable resource that I've used as well. Moving on to the next slide, just another example of letting, others do the work for you. Adobe Express. This has been really exciting for me, super new for me to kind of explore our district. I don't know if they're kind of trying to run it like Canva. I feel like it's a little bit competing in that sense. So they might have some free features, or maybe it's all free now. I'm not sure. I'm with LAUSD, so when I log in using my email, it works. So maybe it's an educator thing too. I don't know. But here's an example of this just pops right up when you enter into Adobe Express, and they're creating an AI alter ego. And what's lovely about some of the things that are coming out with artificial intelligence is that they're giving you the step-by-step guidance. So in this particular activity, there's a little video. It talks about how you use text effects and you generate an image and you're creating that alter ego and writing about it. So it's guiding them through it, and then it's showing them how to do it. So when we think, again, starting off with like, I may not have the experience. That's okay, because they're creating programs that do it for you. The other thing, that's kind of where I'm going to wrap it up for today, but some things to kind of think about as well as we have AI is kind of transforming education, also using that to help us ease our load. So if we do see something that we like, I've been teaching a long time. I remember the days where I would have to literally copy and then I'd cut and I'd tape it to my paper and make photocopies of the lesson that I wanted. And the copy machine was kind of a new thing. I was still on I don't know if it's called a Rizzo or the blue thing, and you'd have to get the print. I've been around a long time. So having something where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to like write that 7 steps lesson plan anymore, where there are opportunities for you to take something that you might find and you're like, wait, how could this work? Some of the things that, I mean, I could go on probably for a whole hour on fun, exciting things, but I really felt bad about like not even having math represented here, because there's so much with data visualization and kids already uploading data. And I remember the time where I would have my kids draw it out, and how sometimes just even graphing would take like 5 days, because I'm like, kids, let's create our bar and let's label it. But when you have students inputting and something else can create depending on your time, sometimes there's value in having them draw and create. And then sometimes there's value in simplifying a process so you can move on to other things and deepen and enrich their understanding. So I want to thank you all for letting me share my ideas and being here. And hopefully you'll be inspired and kind of clicking on things and just checking it out and just processing and taking it in. I'll drop some more links in the chat box of things for artificial intelligence that I've kind of dabbled in. I don't have any curriculum that I use. I'm still filling things out. I don't even know if there, what kinds of curriculum really exist. I've been also being introduced to some new things. But when you find those moments to kind of bring them in, it's always a really powerful thing. So again, like, be creative yourself and see what works for you.
Thank you
So
so much,
thank you.
Angela. I love that a lot of the Google experiments, like you were saying, and some of these other um, platforms that you just tried out and said, wow, this is kind of neat. I think I can connect this organically to something, to another content area, which I think is awesome. I also really appreciate the fact that a lot of times when I hear people say, well, how do I get my students using AI in the classroom? Many times they're thinking of ChatGPT, right? Which is not, um, designed for students and is not compliant with our privacy laws. So I appreciate that you pointed out all of these ways that we can increase our students' AI literacy in ways that are FERPA and COPA compliant and that are integrated into other content areas. So really appreciate that. You're getting some thanks in the chat and some yes ands, so to speak, for Adobe Express. Adobe Express, to my knowledge, is free for all educators, but your IT department might have to turn it on in your Google domain if you're at Google District. So just an FYI on that. But thank you so much, Angela. This was fantastic. If anyone has any questions or notices or wonderings, you can feel free to drop those in the chat. I love all of the unplugged examples also, Angela. Thank you for that, that it was not just, many times we hear concerns about screen time and such. And so having those unplugged examples are really helpful also.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to our next steps for you, but please feel free to ask more questions if you would like. I will say, I thought one of the questions that came up when Rudy was speaking about was about critical thinking. And Angela, I love how the questions you were asking as your students were engaging in these AI experimental tools, so to speak, they really were critical thinking questions. No one understanding the nuances of why a computer system might, an AI might guess a certain thing, or why we as modeling one may, so to speak. So that was great. So I just want everyone to know our next steps. We will be sending an email to all registrants with links to the CDE AI resources, a link to this presentation, and an opportunity to provide input for our Senate Bill 1288 CDE work group. There will also be a link to the recording sent via email to all registrants. And wanted to let you know that if you are interested in applying for that CDE AI statewide work group, I will drop a link in the email to that will go out. And also, if you say, well, I don't know that I have the time or capacity to participate in the work group, but I do want my voice heard. We do want to hear, what are your concerns? What are your things that are happening that are great that we can share. And so definitely encourage you to participate in our statewide AI education survey. And those results will go to our work group as well. And the work group will expand the AI guidance and create a model policy for schools. If you are wanting even more AI learning, there's actually AI for CA is having National AI Literacy Day right now. They're going to have 5-minute flash talks and then a discussion. So if you want to check that out, it's bit.ly CA-AI-literacy. So I know that's like a right now thing, but it is National AI Literacy Day. So there's a lot going on. All right. I want to thank all of you for all that you do. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Have a wonderful weekend. And thank you, Angela.